أيا طالب العلم قم لا تنم فإن الزمان أيا طالب العلم قم لا تنم فإن الزمان انقضى وانصرم فكن ما حييت ضنينا به فظنك
Now, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, I welcome us all back to the 15th class, where we'll be talking about the second migration to Abyssinia. So, we highlighted in the last class that Abyssinia journey actually happened twice, and we want us to get it rightly. It happened the first time where about 17 people, some said 16, some said 15, so about 17 people went to Abyssinia to seek refuge in under the rulership of under the kingship of Najashi, that we said his real name is Ashuma ibn Abjar. So he was a just king, as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the Sahabas before they migrated. So we narrated all that happened and the reason why they came back, the incidents of satanic verses. We talked about the rumor that made the Muslims to believe that the Quraysh have accepted Islam, and then which made them to come back just to find that shocking news that it is actually a lie. So all the thing that happened about the Surah to Najm, the recitation, everything that to the best of our ability, we did that, and then we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to ease the class for us. So another thing to chip in is that we should take this class very seriously. Yeah, we should take it very seriously. So the encouragement can come from our end also to continue to um, do the research and then read before coming to class. So we won't just be taking it levity. So we hope to get the best out of this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to make it easy. Now, where we stopped is that the Quraysh, when the Muslims, when they got back also, the persecution, the victimization did not even stop. It continued, and it was even in another level now, because we can understand. So you know that that double treatment, that double ear. So it's continued. And then the Muslims were like, there's no there's no mercy on us. Even after leaving them and coming back, the punishment is already becoming like double again. And then we can see that when 15 of them have experienced a peaceful life for about 3 months in Abyssinia, so they told the new people, the rest of the Muslims, that life was easy for us in Abyssinia. The king was welcoming. So or most of the Muslims, they were interested in going back. Now, we should one point that we should note is that Uthman ibn Affan was part of of those that traveled in the first one, and he traveled with Prophet's daughter Ruqayya. So um, he traveled with Ruqayya as his couple. So all these things were briefly highlighted. Then I just want to say it because it's a point for us. Uthman ibn Affan is one of the main Sahabas that we are supposed to know about. So he was part of the first Abyssinia journey, but he was not part of the second one because he did not go. Now, who are the people that went to the second Abyssinia? We have about 80, 80 men, 80 Sahabas that left, because we can understand the treatment. Like, okay, once there's a new good life in Abyssinia, why do we need to continue to suffer ourselves there when we can live peacefully? And then there's no hope that Quraysh is going to be peaceful in any time soon. So they had to leave. So about 80 men and about 17, let's say average of 20, close to 20 um, Sahabiyas they left. So we can understand that the couples must have left with the some children, the family, those that they can take along. So in total, about 120 people, 110 people, 110 people are now leaving Quraysh. They are leaving Mecca rather. They are leaving Mecca for Abyssinia. So this understanding, this thing we want us to understand it in the first way is that how many people are in Mecca that 100 people are living for another place. So this is what is causing the Quraysh to actually go against them to live. So on an average, the whole of the population of Mecca then is about 700. Let's say 700 people, and then if 1/7 of the population is living, that's a brain drain. We understand this concept of brain drain in a particular society. Like all these are our main people are going, our honored people, because those Muslims, they are the one that they might be regarded very low in the society, but they know that these are our people. These are the people that have some honor among us. So the journey is actually causing a shame on the Quraysh, and then the Quraysh decided to fight back. Now, before they fight back, we need to highlight some things that when this how do we the caravan, yeah, the caravan, when they was leaving, Prophet Muhammad headed the caravan with Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. And Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, we need to discuss very lightly about him for us to know that he's one of the famous Sahaba that we must know. Why is it that we don't know much about him? We don't know him like Ali ibn Abi Talib. Was that he died before Prophet Muhammad died? Like he did not live after Prophet Muhammad. And this is one of the things that we should benefit from the Seerah. Like most of the Sahabas that we are going to be coming across and we're going to be learning some of their details. We are going to see that why is it that we don't know about them? Most of the reason is that some of them, those people that died before Prophet Muhammad died, we might not have so many mention about them because it was after Prophet Muhammad died that the documentation about the lifestyle of Sahaba, the lifestyle in Mecca, what happened here, what happened there. So it was after Prophet Muhammad's death that all these documentations were made. So we need to take some of the Sahabas that are going to be mentioning very seriously. You can imagine when we started and then we talked about Zayd ibn Haritha. It is amazing that some of us, we do not even know so much about him. We only know that, okay, the only one mentioned in the Quran, and we do not even have the normal rating for him. And then we discover that he was even so rated that had he been alive after Prophet Muhammad, he would have been the Khalifa. That is Zayd. Now, Jafar ibn Abi Talib, um, right, with my own little understanding, I can say that had he lived after Prophet Muhammad, he will have more mention that we know Ali ibn Abi Talib. I don't know if you get, because Jafar is the brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and Ali ibn Abi Talib was still a very was a small boy when they Wahi began, was around 10 or 11 years. So this time we are talking about 6 years after that. So he's still around 16. And Jafar is like 10 years older than Jafar is a young man, young capable man. So this is who Jafar is. And when this contingent, when they were leaving Mecca, Prophet Muhammad headed the caravan with Jafar. So the leader of the troop, not troop, sorry, troop is like an army. So the leader of the migration is Jafar ibn Abi Talib. So now we are going to be having two faces of here coming from a Muslim and then the spokesman of Quraysh. So what did Quraysh do when they say that the way Muslim left Mecca for Abyssinia? Two things we should understand that it's going to cause honor to those in Abyssinia, to the kingship of Abyssinia, that your people left your place because you are terrorizing them, and I am the one that welcomed it. So, and then from the Quraysh side, they are like, the way our people are living, we are losing people, number one, and then it is an insult to us because we know this tribal mentality. Any problem that you have within yourself, it has to be managed. Now, as we are going to see, the Quraysh, they now sent one famous person, as of now, he's still a person in the Sirah, but he later accepted Islam, and then we should be very we should know about him very well, because when we hear him, we should be able to connect the dots of, okay, what really happened to him. Okay, at this time he was not a Muslim, he eventually became a Muslim here, and that is Amr ibn al-As. So because Amr ibn al-As, he was a Sahaba, he's a great Sahaba also. So I'm going to share some little things about him. So Amr ibn al-As is a politician this time around. And when we say politics, we know who a politician is. For Quraysh to have sent him to go and counter the Muslims against, in front of Najashi, we should know that type of person that he is. So our politicians, we know that when they speak, they can speak against you, and when they speak for you, good for you. When they speak against you, you know how it is. So this is the type of person that Amr ibn al-As is. So all his qualities, he was later beneficial for Islam, and some deeper learning might have some other informations, but for the sake of the Sarah. So Amr ibn al-As is the one that gave birth to the famous Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, the famous collector of hadith. So it is his son that that becomes one of the famous collector of hadith. So very knowledgeable and very like a very common story about Amr ibn al-As was that is that the father is a case study. The father of Amr ibn al-As, that's Al-As ibn al-Wahil, is like Abu Jahl, like is like Abu Jahl to Islam. So he was against Islam. Amr ibn al-As became a politician, and his son he became a knowledgeable scholar. So the scholars used to say that the three of them they have different stories, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with those that accepted Islam among them. I mean Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. So he later accepted, he was among the very last batch to accept Islam. So he accepted Islam alongside Khalid ibn Walid. We know Khalid ibn Walid is a very famous one. So Khalid ibn Walid, Amr ibn al-As, and Usman ibn Talha. So these are the three that accepted Islam, the very last batch to accepted Islam, and then to become the Muhajirun actually. So all these things is going to be clear when we get to that story in a very far time that we hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us all till that time. So now, the Quraysh, they sent Amr ibn al-As, they sent him, and alongside one person. The narrations is varies on who the second person is, but the very common one is Abdullah ibn Rabi'ah, and Abdullah ibn Rabi'ah eventually accepted Islam also. So these two people, they are politicians, and then they were sent to the Najashi by the Quraysh. So when they got to Abyssinia, you know that we know how this king, how empire, how it works. That you can't just walk into the kingdom. You have to seek for permission, make some negotiation. Just like seek for permission is that word that I want to use? Like think about Losino Lukan. Only talk about in appointment only law. So you have to create an appointment and all these things. So, but before that, Amr ibn al-As adopted a method that only a politician can do that, and we will understand that the lifestyle that our politicians are living now is as it has been in existence since. So what he did was that definitely we are meeting that type of king, you go with some gifts to present, like a present for the gift. So he brought so many gifts from Quraysh, like Oti Niwuba or skill to against the Muslims. So he brought so many gifts, and then what he did was that all the viziers is the word used, and the understanding we can have, they are like the ministers. I want to so we understand in our own land like this, but Omani level not our own ballet like this. So now, like all the ministers, he went to them a day before meeting Najashi. He bribed them, he gave them gift and told them the reason why he's here. So seeking for their support, because the gift was not like a direct presentation. It's like take this thing, support me tomorrow. That's why we can call it bribe. So he bribed them, and then he bribed all the ministers. Let me use that minister so we can all flow. So he bribed all the ministers so they can support him in front of Quraysh, in front of Najashi tomorrow. Please, if I misuse a word, I want us to be very attentive and then we correct it. So now, um, so after he bribed them, the second day, he was granted the opportunity to speak to Najashi. Eventually, him and Najashi later in the story, in history, they became friends, and then a lot happened actually. So that we won't digress. So Najashi now, when he was in front of Najashi, so what he did was that he lied against the Muslim. He accused them of various things. It says these people that you've welcomed in your society, they are not good people. They've destroyed our community. They've destroyed our community. They've broken the ties of kinship among us. They are now with a new religion. They are not following the religion of our forefathers. And you know that Najashi was just welcoming to the Muslim, like anyone that seeks refuge in me, I'm going to welcome that person. That's just Najashi's that is his reason for welcoming them. And he said, so the Amr ibn As was telling Najashi that they came with new religion. They are not following your religion, and they are not following our own forefathers' religion. Now let's pause here and understand what's the religion of Najashi. I was supposed to say this in the last class, but I was fearing that I digress. So Najashi, okay, I think I mentioned it more, maybe once. Najashi is a Christian, not idol worshiper like the pagans of Mecca. So Najashi is a Christian, and it is said that his own Christianity, it is actually the one that is very, very closer to Islam. Now, we should understand this, that the Christians, we said it in the Seerah, like about 570 years was between Prophet Muhammad and Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. So this between these years, a lot has happened in Christianity. Paul has came, and we know this common thing that they always say about Paul, that the founder of the Trinity in Christianity was actually about 300 years after Prophet Isa left, and then it was like I dreamt all these things. So a lot of divisions have been made in Christianity. And the only one that was still very, very close to Islam is the one that says that there is no Trinity. So it was this version of Christianity that Najashi was following, though we should know that his ministers, they had another version of Christianity that they are following, but he alone on his own, he was still following this version. So he was open-minded to hear from the Muslims, and then to um, to get more information, as we are going to see in the conversation between him and Jafar ibn Abi Talib. So when all these things were made, um, Amr ibn as he blackmailed the Muslim, he spoke ill against them, and then the Najashi actually replied that, okay, all these things that you said, it will not be fair for me to just return them without hearing from them. And this is what we are going to see, that Prophet ﷺ said, Najashi is a just king. He does not mind returning the Muslims, but he said, I need to hear from them. Let me hear from the side of story. One person cannot just come, make an accusation against second person. I'm going to act on it. Now, we should know that once Najashi choose to tell the Muslims to go back, they are actually going back to the previous punishment that they are coming from. So Najashi invited Jafar ibn Abi Talib, being the leader, and then it was narrated that when the invitation came to Jafar ibn Abi Talib that Najashi wants to see you, everybody was terrified. Everybody was terrified. Like, what are we going to say against Najashi? What kind? Like, you understand the kind of thing? Right? You understand? So, but Jafar said to the Muslims that we won't say anything except what Prophet Muhammad has told us, and we are going to say the truth. Now, so when Jafar ibn Abi Talib, when he got to Najashi alongside the Muslims, as they were behind, as is narrated, and there's this clip that always fly around on social media. Maybe we've come across the conversation between Najashi and um, conversation between Najashi and Jafar ibn Abi Talib. If we've seen it online, it is of benefit that you just capture the moment and you can visualize it and you understand it better if you've seen something like that. Now, so I want to read the conversation that happened directly from Rahikul Maktoum. Okay, now, so Najashi, after sending for Jafar ibn Abi Talib, Jafar came to him, and then the first thing that happened when Jafar came was that Jafar, sorry, Jafar did not bow down the way other people did bow down, and how they used to bow to the kings then. So it was very obvious, and then the ministers and Abraham As, they actually tried to use this against him, and then he said to them that we are Muslims, we don't bow to anyone except Allah. So Najashi allowed that one to go and said, okay, what do you have to say? You've been accused of breaking the society, you've been accused of being a bad person in the society, you've been accused of this and that and that. So he said, what do you have to say against this? So this is a very famous response that Jafar ibn Abi Talib said, and is a point of benefit. So I'm going to read the English translation to us. Now, one thing that we must know before I just read it is that the response was just the full pack of what Islam is. Now, from the way Jafar was narrating, was the value that Islam brought to them before Jahiliyyah, like between Jahiliyyah, the way they used to live in Jahiliyyah and the value that Islam has added to their lives. So this is the message. This is the message that Jafar used to respond to Najashi. And I'm going to be quoting straight, and each line we cannot make an explanation. I believe we are going to get, because if we want to make explanation, is another way, that is another view that we're going to be using to explain it. So and we are not doing that. We are only doing Seerah here. So Jafar said, "O king, we were ignorant people. We worshipped idols and ate meat of dead carcass. We were accustomed with bad behaviors to severing ties of kinship, neglecting our neighbors, and neglecting our neighbors, and the strong among us will consume the property of the weak. You can say the lifestyle of that. We can see that Abu Jahl is actually doing. So he said, this is who we were. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a messenger to us. We were aware of his lineage. He's saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent someone known to us from among us. We were aware of his lineage. We found him to be truthful. He was trustworthy and he was chaste. He began inviting us to Allah, and we single him out and that we worship him. This is talking about the Tawheed, that you don't worship idols. You don't claim you are worshiping Allah through idols. And we've explained all these things in the previous classes and how Quraysh they value worshiping idols over worshiping Allah directly. So he said, we left the religion of our forefathers. Okay, so we left the religion of our forefathers and we followed Mutimis Lion. Okay, he said, we left the worship of stone and idols of all other beside Allah. He also commanded us to be truthful in our speech, fulfill trust, nurture the tie of kinship, be kind to our neighbors, and to refrain from spilling blood unlawfully, to refrain from killing people unlawfully. So he forbade us from bad behaviors, from obscene speech, from consuming orphans' wealth, from slandering chaste women. He commanded that we worship Allah alone without associating anything with him. He commanded us to perform the prayer, give charity, and fast. Then we trusted him and we believed in him and followed the religion of Allah that he delivered. We began to worship Allah alone. We will not associate anything with him, and we began prohibiting what he made unlawful for us, as well as allowing what he had made lawful for us. At this, our people rose against us. No, sir, this is what Jafar is actually trying to do. He's presenting the value of Islam to Najashi, saying that this is what we were doing. We're not doing other than this. And all because of this, our people, they rose against us. They started punishing us. They started torturing us and got us to leave our religion and return to the worshipping of idol instead of worshipping Allah. And they expected us to consider all the filthy things unlawful as we previously did. So when they overpowered us and oppressed us and restricted us, when they came between us and our religion, then we came to your land. We chose you over we chose you over others. We chose you over others beside you, desiring to be your neighbor and hoping you will not wrong us. So this is the speech that Jafar ibn Abi Talib he delivered. And this is English language, and this is coming from another poor reader. So I think we cannot get that eloquence. But at least if you listen to the message, you will see that it was convincing, stating the messages of Islam. Like, we are Muslims, we are not terrorism, we are not terrorists, as Amr ibn As has accused us. We do not break kingship. He highlighted all the bad things that they've been doing in the past and the good things that Islam has brought to them. And he said, all because we are doing this, our people have chosen to be punishing us and they torture us all because of this. And when it's getting out of hand, we choose your land. And he's still appealing to Najashi directly that we are hoping that you will not turn against us. Now, there's no sane man or sane king that will listen to this and will still go against them, except that he's someone like the Quraysh also. So when Najashi, when he heard this, he was moved, and he was, all that Jafar said is actually against what Amr ibn al-As said. And then he said, do you have a message from your messenger? Like, can you recite some of his messages for me? This is when Jafar ibn Abi Talib recited Surah Al-Maryam, as we've always heard. He recited some of the pages or some of the beginning verses of Surah Al-Maryam. He recited it to Najashi. And one thing we should know is that we said Najashi is a Christian. Now he recited Surah Al-Maryam, and we don't have time to do that. If you check the first verses of Surah Al-Maryam that Najashi, that Jafar ibn Abi Talib had recited, you are going to see that This is this chapter that is praising someone that is highly related to the Christians, praising Maryam. And there's no Christian that will hear, even up until our time, that everything is still so like everything, all the information about Islam is on net. When you tell a Christian that there's a mention of Maryam, Mary in the Quran, they'll still be wild, like, wow, you mean your Quran recognized Maryam? So they'll still do. And imagine someone like Najashi that is even holding up onto the real values of Christianity. So he was moved and then he was wild. So when with this, the viziers, actually, it was said that they grumbled. You know, we said that they have been bribed, but they could not overpower the Najashi. And then Amr ibn As was actually humiliated in this manner because it was not what he was expecting that he got. So Najashi said, "Live in my land, and then you will have no problem." So they all left the front of Amr. They all left the front of Najashi, and then when they left, Amr ibn Has was very disappointed in his tactics, like coming with all bribes. And then he said to Abdullah ibn Rabi'a, the second person that they were leaving to it, like, I still have another tactics that I'm going to use tomorrow, that I'm going to use, and I'm going to call for this particular meeting again tomorrow. So Abdullah ibn Rabi'a was actually telling him that we don't need to do this again. We can see it is open. That kind of thing again, like we've done this thing and it is clear open that we cannot do anything. Let's go back to Quraysh JJL, but in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had it that they are still going to come again. And what he said was that he said he went to Najashi again and he said, don't you see that these people, the Muslims, he was referring to the Muslims, that they were actually blasphemous against your Lord Isa ibn Maryam. Like he's saying that they did not recognize Isa alayhi salatu wasalam as you recognize him to be God. You know, when we say blasphemy in the language, the way we use it is that when you let's say the way we have our we believe that Allah is Allah, Allah is God. When someone says anything other than this that negates this, the person has become blasphemous against our religion. So this was what they accused the Muslim of, and Najashi had to call for the meeting the second time again. So Najashi had to call for the meeting the second time again, and he asked Jafar. So Jafar, they became furious again as usual, like, what, she had to see Bonon. So Jafar had to went again, and then another set of discussion came up where Jafar said, I'm going to say nothing other than what Prophet Muhammad had told me. And then he explained, according to the standard of Islam, that Isa alayhi salatu wasalam is Ruhullah, is not God on his own. Now, just like we said that Najashi on his own version of Christianity is different from other ministers. So it was appealing, it was more like it makes the understanding of Christianity to be more clear to Najashi, though it was not appealing to other ministers. So other ministers did not agree with what they said, but Najashi was even more impressed. And then at this, he became angry against Amr ibn As for calling for the meeting again. And then he returned the gift that Amr ibn As was had given him before. Now, returning of gift, we know that it is actually very shameful. When you give someone a gift and the person return it, it means you are not just humiliated this time around, you've been degraded. Like what the Jaran Kenny, that is, it's when you give someone a gift and the person returned it. So this was what happened between Amr ibn As and Najashi, and Amr ibn As Amr ibn As eventually got humiliated, and then he left for Medina. Sorry, I have to stop. Now, this is Hamatan, and when you talk for long without taking water, so your voice just gets dried off. So that is to keep it brief. That is what we have about the second migration of the Muslims to Niger second migration of Muslims to Abyssinia. Now, we need to say some short things about Najashi because we are talking about him, and he's not is not going to be mentioned for so many times is that Najashi eventually became a Muslim. Yeah, he eventually became a Muslim, and he had the honor of being the only person that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed Salatul Ghaiba, Salatul Janaza al Ghaiba, meaning that praying janaza on someone that is not there. Like when he did, Salatul Janaza means Toman Kiso Kulara. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when Najashi died in Abyssinia, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam informed the Muslim that your brother had died. That was it in their days, that your brother had died. Salatul Janaza is this type of salat that ẹni tó kú gangan kò ní sí. So it has not, we are talking about Seerah now. I'm not bringing fiqh because fiqh is another thing entirely, and I need to be saying this every time. So we won't be deriving some rules of Islam from this type of class. This is a Seerah class, and we're just highlighting things that happen. So our scholars, they will discuss it better, and then they have how they used to form a solution with it. So now, that was done about him. Another thing that we need to know about him was that he was the one that eventually converted Amr ibn As. When we get to the story of conversion of Amr ibn As, it was when Amr ibn As went to him again, and Najashi was telling him that even you are coming from this man, you're coming from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you are going against him. Is it not high time you accept Islam? So he was the one that preached to Amr ibn As, and Amr ibn As eventually got convinced, and then that was later in Medina. So he was this type of person, and a lot happened during his time also that like the Muslims, they spend about 14 years in Abyssinia before they eventually returned to Mecca in the seventh year of Hijrah, when Isa came to Islam. Now we have 15, not 15, about 20 minutes more. I would like to know if we have a question, or we should go into the next chapter. Now, do you have any question? Let's be very fast. We are on recording. We don't want to pause for long. Ibn New. It is okay. Sorry, I'm just seeing this question that Brother Ibrahim posed. It is my typographical error. It is Ibn Abjar. Did you get that? He are still on call. Now, okay, I think he's still on call. Now, Brother Ibrahim, please get that right. It is mistake